Episode 7 of The Judge from Hell starts with our killer jumping that poor woman in the street. Myung-suk manages to save her life at the last second, and with her camera raised, the killer rushes off. The culprit remembers the knife shape though, and through a sketch of the blade, the head detective, Kim So-young, recognises it and believes it may be a resurgent killer from the past. She continues to look out for Daon here, whom this case may actually be related to, given her thoughts that night and paying her respects to Daon's parents at the mausoleum. She shields Daon from the case, deciding to deal with this directly herself. Meanwhile, Judge Bitna is getting a lot of stick online and news has spread of her sentencings. Bitna doesn't care though, but Chief Na points out that she can't be near a case like this again given how she ruled and the vitriol online against her. And bizarrely, Bitna is absolutely fine with it. Speaking of rumours and hearsay, Mando shows up to see his boss and tells Bitna that current rumours are spreading that Arong is actually Satan. She shrugs it off though, believing it to be a ridiculous claim. On her way home, Bitna finds herself back at the police station again after helping out a schoolgirl called Dahui, on the verge of being extorted for money from a couple of girls. Bitna makes swift work of them, but as fate would have it, this schoolgirl is actually So-young's daughter. The parents talk a big game until they realise Bitna is a judge, and they soon leave with their tails tucked between their legs. So-young is not happy with her daughter, specifically in knowing she was in Hwangcheong where the mugging took place. Daon shows up at the villa to see Misha that night, pointing out that Bitna is a demon. The old woman repeats her prophecy from before, that one of them will die. However, Misha also points out that she knew Daon's parents. Apparently they were overflowing with love and she made a promise in the past to look after Daon no matter what. She urges him to leave and promises that this is a life or death situation. Daon instead heads off to speak to Bitna. He's confused over her attitude, commenting how she's hot and cold in her demeanour and he can't figure her out. Furthermore, he also brings up how he was adopted, and while Dahui isn't his blood sister, she's still family to him. Daon is blinded by guilt over the death of his parents and brother, blaming himself for what happened. Bitna though turns around and tells him that he's never killed anyone, otherwise he'd be in hell. She warns him against believing in her too, given that's idol worship. Instead, he gets super drunk that night and kind of flirts with her a little bit. She's taken aback after helping him to bed, as he drunkenly retorts that she's good, but he needs to catch her because of these murders. However, he really doesn't want to. And wouldn't you know it, Bitna soon finds the empty can in his wardrobe. This is of course part of the case he's building against her, and she soon realises this. Bitna is annoyed and scoffs that humans can't be trusted. Of course, the wrath of this is immediately turned against Mando, who is punished by Bitna. Well, she starts to unleash hell, pun very much intended here, but soon changes her mind. Arong and Mando are taken aback though when Bitna decides they should leave Daon alone, rather than making him stop. Arong contemplates whether there could be romance involved when Bitna leaves, but we'll have to wait and see on that front. Meanwhile, the CEO of KO Foods, Choi Won-jun, finds an injured puppy and helps it by the side of the road. Others snap photos, which quickly makes the news and impresses Chairman Choi. Now, there is a big working strike going on outside their company though, which is souring their public perception of being a squeaky clean company. The chairman encourages him to put his foot down and stamp this out quickly. Won-jung invites the strike leader, Mr. Won, across to his beautiful house for a chat. It's pretty insulting to parade this guy through the entirety of this modern, beautiful property, and it soon becomes clear why. Won-jung's demeanour in private is cold and callous. He has a caged puppy in the corner and good lord, the face of that thing, Jesus. Won-jung tries to pay him off with a wire transfer, but that's not the crux of their strike concerns. 5 people have died in the last 3 years and it's super unsafe for them, so they want better working conditions. Won-jung threatens him with a hot kettle, and when he refuses the money he's wired, he's bundled in the back of a car and taken away. His phone though drops on the ground. Mr. Won is unfortunately taken to a driving range, where the CEO starts smashing golf balls into him after he's dumped on the road. It turns out Mr. Won actually has a voice recorder and he's recorded the entire evening's events. Unfortunately, a car races up and looks set to hit him. Won's family show up at the police station not long after, asking for help. Unfortunately, they can't report him missing, and his daughter, Yuki-young, is bummed out by this. Funnily enough, she's actually friends with the Hell cleanup crew too. When Won has been missing for 5 days, our cleanup crew decide to get involved. The pair speak to Bitna over drinks and donuts. They retort that Mr. Won is apparently really kind and they indirectly think it'll help her, given she's looking for murderers. Bitna shows off the CEO's picture, given he was the last one to see her, and she decides to look into the case, reluctantly. She checks Mr. Won's status on the glass cabinet, which is pretty funny as the poor lady behind thinks that she's looking at all of the donuts. Mr. Won, as it turns out, is found hanging in the forest, made to look like a suicide. As for Won-jung, he gives a press conference promising to cooperate fully with the investigation. However, given Mr. Won received 300 million won before dying, and the police had the voice recorded to confirm everything, which records all of Won-jung's Golf drive assault by the way, it doesn't look good. Won-jung though shrugs it off and claims it was all accidental. So-young promises the chief that she's going to thoroughly investigate this and certainly won't let the CEO get away with it. Daon is fully on board with this of course, and So-young reassures him that they do right by the law and punish accordingly, but Daon wants him to die. Thanks to political power plays, Kang Bitna is put on as a judge for this case. She doesn't mince words, given she has that voice recording, but of course the prosecutor is working on the CEO's payroll. The prosecution have zero questions for Won-jung, and he flat out refuses any part of this. Bitna leaves and meets with Daon at the cafe. He's bought her a can of Coke, which she scoffs at and refuses to indulge him. She doesn't want to talk to the victims' families, and even Daon suggesting she find a connection to murder doesn't rattle her. Daon is desperate and pleads for help, and eventually she concedes. They head in to examine the body, and Bitna touches Won's forehead and sees firsthand that it's murder. However, she tells Daon that it was suicide. Whether she's doing this just to spite Daon or to actually enact justice herself without anyone else knowing is up for debate. As for So-young, she stakes out Hwang Cheong that night and notices the killer pass by her car. She gives chase up an alleyway, but he gets the jump on her. So-young eventually holds him up at gunpoint while Daon and Bitna head back to the area. There, they hear a gunshot in the distance, which can only be So-young or the killer, which has been hit. Well, we don't actually find out, as there's a bloodstain on the ground. Daon is angry and wants revenge, while Bitna looks like she's about to cry, which is where episode 7 of The Judge from Hell comes to an end. So The Judge from Hell continues to be one of the more enjoyable K-dramas currently airing. The tone is deliciously dark and also ever so slightly comedic too, and the series is all the stronger for balancing these two states out. As we get into the business end of this season, you can tell that things are starting to become more serious. The cases are hitting home for both Bitna and Daon, with the former not happy that Daon is investigating her in secret. However, their feelings for one another can't be so easily hidden, and that much is especially true by the end of the chapter. The preview for tomorrow's follow-up once again spoils massive parts of what's to come, so if you want to go in blind, please don't watch it. However, we can ascertain regardless of that, given the structure of previous weeks, that Won-jung is not coming out of this smelling of roses, that's for sure. There's a really nice ebb and flow to the way the cases roll into one another, and this one focusing on So-young and her ties with Daon, not to mention this serial killer that seems to be connected to Daon's past, is a nice way of bringing out a mystery element to all of this. Judge from Hell has been a solid watch so far, and one of the favourite ones that I'm actually recapping at the moment. I genuinely can't wait to see what happens next, so roll on the next chapter. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.